The time is 5:41 p.m. April 10th, 2019, Texas. Welcome to part one of an extended episode of the BackYard Bullshit podcast, where we have so much to talk about. We had to split it up into two parts. First of all, baseball is in full swing, and we have two guys here who have so many opinions on that. How about they introduce themselves?
Hey folks, I'm Dealer.
And this is Coolhand.
And I am your humble producer, Mickey. And like I mentioned earlier, baseball is in full swing. So let's just jump into it. Dealer, what are your first impressions?
Alright, so we saw the AL get turned upside down on its head, and it was amazing to see the panic reactions of all the bandwagon fans.
You mean the Red Sox aren't doing so hot?
You know, the Red Sox, they still haven't righted the ship, but many other teams have righted the ship, like the Indians and the Astros. They have figured it out. The NL, honestly, from like day one, they're like, hey, this is the playoff teams we want, and this is what we're going to stick with. And I think that very well we might just see the Phillies storm right into October with the way they're starting off.
They've been unbelievable. I'm shocked how well they've played. Plus the legendary bat flip that Bryce Harper had against the Nationals. Probably the best I've ever seen.
I gotta say, whenever he first came up, there was a lot of boos, and that strikeout from Max Scherzer had so much hatred behind it.
Yeah,
that was an amazing pick.
Yeah, I did. Real hate. Actual hate. Because he basically told the city of DC that he didn't like playing there.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, and Scherzer has been their number one cheerleader all season long for the Nationals. I think he's a real team player, and I love seeing him on the Nationals.
When he came over to the Nationals, I was surprised that he went there in the first place, but he's really dove in, really become part of the city, really become a true National. Because, he kind of hopped around a little bit. I know he went from the Diamondbacks and the Tigers and all that stuff, but I think he really feels at home, plus $28 million a year, to play in DC.
Let me ask you this. Who has more upside, Victor Robles or Juan Soto for the Nationals?
Ooh, man. I like Robles' defense, so I'm going to go with Robles, but Soto can hit like a monster.
Gosh, that's a beautiful bat that he has, right?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And then you got, you got Arrieta still pitching great. So, and for the Phillies, which is something that not many people predict.
No, I thought he was done. When they signed him, I was like, maybe he has 2 years in Philadelphia where he's actually good. But I think the depth of the rotation has helped him a lot with Aaron Nola stepping up, the defense being pretty good out there, and the depth of their bullpen right now. But if you would have told me Jake Arrieta was going to have a good year this year, I would have told you were crazy.
Yeah, speaking of people that had a good year before that were predicted to have a good year again, Kyle Hendricks of the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Came back out of nowhere. I know they struggled against the Rangers, but after that, they've really torn it up. The Rangers, Astros, somehow they stunk against the Rangers, and then stepped it up and started playing pretty well.
And now it looks like there's maybe some more trouble now because, Hendricks, he only pitched 4 innings in his last 2 starts, and he's been getting eaten up, by the Brewers. So it was not the best of starts for Hendricks, and now Lester's going on the shelf with an injury.
The Brewers are a pretty good team, so it's hard to get too mad at a guy for losing to the Brewers right now. They might be the best team in the National League.
Don't tell the Angels that. They didn't have a problem with the Brewers.
Which is amazing, because they struggle with basically everybody else except for the Rangers.
What a marquee matchup that was between Mike Trout and Yelich. I love that.
Oh, no kidding. Yelich, small market, he got traded from a small market to a smaller market and became arguably the best outfielder in the National League. And so what he has done has really been amazing. Truly amazing. I mean, winning an MVP in Milwaukee is not easy. You want to talk about a place where there's no media.
Absolutely. No one says ESPN tunes in to Milwaukee first. I actually think that our little podcast here might be the first talk about Milwaukee. They might be getting excited about it right now. Milwaukee's tuning into our podcast. Hello, if you're there.
Right. Hello, Milwaukee. Go Brewers.
And I have a hot take about the small market Miami. And my take here is that Miami doesn't deserve to be a small market team. I think that there's so much Latin American influence in the baseball culture and community down there that they really could just tap into that and be a massive market in the baseball community.
I mean, it would help if Cuba players were allowed to play in the United States, and I know you probably saw that that's not going to happen this year, not anytime soon, because it's such a Cuba-heavy part of the world. You know, there's more Cubans that live in Miami than live in Cuba. So,
it's ridiculous.
If they could tap into the Latin community there, they should sell out every game. It blows my mind that Miami doesn't. They have a nice stadium. They took down the ridiculous thing in the outfield. They have a Hooters attached, for goodness sakes.
They have a respectable uniform now.
Oh, yeah, it's not those crazy orange and whatever the hell that was.
It's like they gave a kid a coloring book and gave them all the crayons and said, draw whatever you want.
Like, at least the Tequila Sunrise from the Astros has, history and some, it has come back as a style. I mean, they basically brought that back.
Right.
It's not quite the same unis from the 80s, but, those were bright, crazy colors, but at least they sort of fit in. The Marlins uniforms are just absolute garbage. Absolute garbage.
I agree. But it's a nice turnaround for Miami. So I'm excited to see what happens there. They've got some solid starters. They got some really good starters. We're not going to talk about Chen or how big of a contract he signed to, but I mean, the other people, though,
Well, the two times that the Marlins won the World Series, it wasn't with a bunch of stars. Now, they had some guys that were stars, Gary Sheffield, Moises Alou during the 97 run, and then in 2003, Josh Beckett. But they've won it by building through their system. They've never won their division, ever. They have never won their own division, but has 2 World Series titles.
That's amazing. It
blows my mind.
I don't think that was planned. No one ever says, hey, let's sneak in by not winning the division. But, it works.
Well, especially nowadays with the one-game playoff as a wild card. It's so much better to win your division now.
Well, let me pose you the question. So hockey has it that the wild card people earn a series. And baseball feels that would make wild card people too complacent. What do you think?
I hate the one-game playoff. If you're going to play 162 games, then you shouldn't have one game to decide your fate. Now, if that one game is after 162 games, that's a different story. But if you're going to play all those games, and so, baseball has the smallest percentage of guys that actually make the playoffs compared to the number of teams they have. If you're going to play all those games, and it's all going to come down to one game, well, you might go up in a one-game playoff with one of the best pitchers in the game. Whereas in a series, they're going to have to throw out 2 or 3 or 4 guys at you. And I feel it's unfair that if you play all that time, and say you're the better wild card team, you're playing at home, but you're playing, I don't know, a Max Scherzer in the first round in the play-in game essentially. Then you've played all this time for nothing.
So here's my take on that. I agree with you, but I would say a modified series where don't give them the benefit of having a 5-game series. Give them a 3-game series.
Yeah, I'm okay with a 3-game. A 3-game, your release is a series. It's not a game.
I agree. You can't just throw out one starter and whim it into the, division series there. So I think that would be good, but you don't want to give them so much, where they feel comfortable, because, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, if you got a team that blows them out, gets 100 wins like the Yankees did, that to me, that's great. A 100-win team should not be subject to a 1-game playoff.
Absolutely, I 100% agree with you on that.
I totally see the whole thing behind, like, oh, well, if you want more security, then you need to play better. It's extremely hard to hit 100 wins, and you can't really tell them that, So how could you look at the Yankees and say, oh, well, play better than 100 wins? No, give them a 3-game series, make it something to watch.
Make it worth something. They did win that game last year, but they shouldn't have to be playing. If you win 100 games, you shouldn't be playing a game to get in. It's just long in the season.
Yeah, I agree. And, I really think that that's one of the things it boils down to, is that we all would have hated to have to watch a 3-game series between the Yankees and Oakland, when that would just turn into 2 Yankee back-to-back wins real easily, because there's no pitching with the Oakland A's at all.
Well, and then, just watching the Yankees hit home runs for 18 innings.
Speaking of which, the Bronx Bombers are out of one of their best sluggers, Stanton.
They're down a lot of guys. They're in bad shape right now, physically. Now, if they can get all those guys back over the year, I think they'll be fine. That's the good thing about 162 games, is it allows you to deal with these injuries, especially if they all come at once, like they did for the Yankees.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that's unique, though, here would be that the Yankees, whenever they signed Troy Tulowitzki, they said, oh, we're looking forward to him. He feels healthy. And now he's injured. Are we shocked? That guy has glass bones.
I'm pretty sure he's felt healthy for the last 5 years, going into every season. All of a sudden, oh no, something bad happens. Like, I feel bad for the guy. He's a good player. He doesn't deserve what's happened to him physically, but he can't play anymore. Like,
I think it's either 1 or 2. I don't know, but he's definitely hit 1 dinger for sure. So
yeah, he had a big home run early in the season.
Yeah, so the guy still has the talent. He still has the ability. And that just sucks when you see someone with such good ability, but he can't stay healthy.
You know what it reminds me a lot of is Eric Chavez.
Oh, yeah, Eric Chavez. Wow, I haven't heard that name in forever.
He had all the talent in the world. Just couldn't stay on the field. At all. And it ended up ruining his career. He ended up, I think he played for the Dodgers for a little bit, but he never lived up to the potential that he truly had.
I agree with you there. All right, so we're going to dive right into some tribe talk here. We got problems in Believe Land. We got Frankie Lindor on the IL, and we got Mike Clevenger hitting the IL. Clevenger is going to be out for a long time, and Terry Francona, the popsicle eater, is not even sugarcoating it. He says it might be longer than 6 to 8 weeks.
I mean, if the manager says that it's going to be longer, it's going to be longer. And we're looking at probably 3 months, half a season. Just not good for the Indians. They do have enough other talent, and they are in a just absolute garbage division. So they'll be just fine. But still, you want to have him around. He's been really, really pitching well over the last about, half of last season and the beginning of this season. He's been unbelievable.
Yeah,
do you think they're going to miss him, or?
I think that they're going to feel a little hole depending on who they replace him with. Cleveland has this thing to always pull up some random AAA guy who can stop the bleeding for a short period of time.
Right.
I don't know if you remember, if you can think back to the ALDS, or actually ALCS with Toronto and Cleveland, and they had this young guy straight from AAA, Merritt, And, Toronto was like, oh, he's going to be shaking in his boots because of us, and we're going to tear him up. And he tore the Blue Jays up. So, I mean, I kind of see if they got some guys like that again, that could just pause the bleeding for a little while. If they have a starter,
is the pause.
Right? If they have a starter who can come on up and go 5 for 5 in 10 starts, or 5 for 6, boom. That's all. That is great news for Cleveland.
Well, even really just give them if you can give them 6 innings of 4 or 5 run baseball, they do have enough offense even without Lindor to be able to produce a 500 record with him, which is all you're asking from a guy you call up.
What do you think about Danny Santana returning to Cleveland?
I think it was a good move for them. I think it was. Bring him back. He'll be comfortable there. He's always had the skills. He's just.
Hopefully they move the camera from left field, the one he pegged off Chapman. So we'll see. But hopefully they move that camera. Call it the Danny Santana move. But it's a shift. But other than that, I think it's a good team out there. We're going to turn our attention now to another young team that's really taken headlines. I mean, they got Machado. They had the fake news about Machado having a meeting with A.J. Preller and telling him, hey, we need Fernando Tatis Jr. on the team. We need to start him. And then they're like, oh, I agree. That was fake news, actually. But A.J. Preller said, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and pull him up anyway.
Well, the Padres have been fantastic. They are a good team. Do I think their starting pitching has been a lot better than they probably are? Yes. Do I think they honestly are going to contend for the West this year? I don't think so. But they're showing signs of life. They got a new owner. They're really putting money into this thing. They've got 2 huge contracts between Hosmer and Manny Machado. And they're stepping up to the plate, and their starting pitching has been excellent. Do I think he's going to hang up? No. This team's not. But they will make the Dodgers earn it this year.
I completely agree with that. They're going to make them earn it. Injuries happen. Wheels fall off of teams. Like, you look at the Braves. The wheels are very, very shaky right now. I'm not certain about the Braves. And a lot of people picked the Braves to win the division before the season started. Probably people who live in the Southeast. But, some experts did predict because of the rise of Sunya and the Braves.
Georgia somewhere.
Yeah. I think those people probably picked them. Because, honestly, there's some good people in Atlanta. There really is. You got Sunya. We got, Albies. And you got those people in the amazing rotation. Could the Braves super rotation? Could that super rotation be back from the 90s? Maybe. Perhaps, Fulte comes back and really could lock up some things, make it healthy again. I like that. I'm fine with that. But other than that,
they're not going to be able to compete with the Phillies. The Phillies are clearly the best team in the NL East this year.
So the Phillies had a super red hot start, like maybe even white hot start last year in April, May, and then the wheels fell off.
But they're a different team this year. They're older. Reese Hopkins is a legitimate all-star type player. And then they added, Bryce Harper. And however you feel about Bryce Harper, he did make that team better than it was last year.
Yeah, I mean for sure. Yeah, you really did. He did bring it up into superstar contention. He's going to have a leadership role in that clubhouse. And then, you get the Nationals who, like you said about the Padres, easy. The Nationals are not going to make it easy for anybody. Because for a 3-game series, you look on the schedule, you got Strasburg and Scherzer to go up against. You already know you're in for now.
You're SOL, man.
So the Nats are not going to roll over and die with DeGrom, Wheeler, Syndergaard. They're not a roll over and die team.
No.
And if your bats are hot, if your bats are not hot, Miami's Anderson and Urania pose to be really tough starting pitching.
There's a lot of talent in that NL East. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's really the Phillies at this point.
I agree.
The Nationals will absolutely hang in there. It'll be a close race between the two of them.
So I got a hot take here. and we all know you can't win a World Series in April, but I think that you can lose a division in April. We saw the Cubs do. I really think the Cubs will not. I will not win the division.
I agree with you. I mean, that's a good division. You got the Cardinals. They just compete every year, even though I hate them with a passion.
Colonel Magic.
And the Pirates are a better team than you think they are. I know they got off to a bad start, but they're going to hang around. They'll be around at the end. They won't hang around. And the Reds, making some of those big off-season moves, bringing in Puig, plus the little with the Pirates the other night.
Suspended for that.
Well, shocker. But you mean Puig suspended? No.
What? Yeah, I don't know. I think that was kind of a ridiculous thing to do for Archer. Very childish. So yeah. I get it. There's old school thoughts of baseball. You hit the ball. You put your head down. You run. Okay.
Right.
Old school. And when you crush a ball into the Alchemy River like Dietrich did, sure, you want to watch it. That's fine. Did he stand there a little bit too long?
Probably.
Yeah, I think he did a little bit too much. But do you throw a 96-mile-an-hour ball at the guy? No. You don't intentionally do that.
Grow up. Get over it. This is freaking baseball. Like, this isn't the 1960s. Like, people are going to watch the home runs nowadays. It's the modern age. Major League Baseball even has a commercial about celebrating home runs.
Yeah, for sure.
We moved on from that. And these old school guys, the Brian McCanns and those guys of the world, they just need to move on. And
Mark Reynolds, he had a great statement a few years ago whenever he played for the Indians against the against the Oakland A's, and Jared Parker decided to drill him with a ball. Yeah. And instead of making a big deal about it or anything, because it was a high ball, it was a high pitch, and Mark Reynolds came up to the very next AB and absolutely crushed one in Cleveland that the scoreboard was almost shaking about getting hit. And I think, and when he talked to the media, he said, yeah, I got hit, but I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I'm going to come in there locked in next at bat and punish the pitcher for it.
Well, and that's the thing. That's what you got to do. You got to, if they really want to start doing that, you got to punish them. You have to make it not worth them doing that to you.
Absolutely. And I think about Archer. If you don't want them to hit home runs and you don't want them to watch it, don't let them hit a home run.
Don't give them one.
Strike them out.
Yeah.
Do your job. I mean, there's a simple way to make sure they don't watch home runs. Do your job.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I 1,000% agree with you on that.
And
do I think they over-celebrate? Yeah, I absolutely think they over-celebrate. But this is the modern game. And if you don't start letting stuff go, we're going to just start having fisticuffs like it's nothing again. Like it's the 1990s.
I agree. And, I think that, Tom Grieve, I don't know if you remember, but he went on the radio for the Rangers to defend Odor in the Odor punch about Bautista. And everyone said, oh, this is about the bat flip. The punch was about the bat flip. And again, it wasn't. No. The Rangers' attack was not. It was about that slide. And if anybody ever goes back to watch that slide, that was a brutally aggressive slide that was extremely late.
Over the top. He did not have to do that. And
I agree.
It was the last game of the series. It was towards the end of the game. I don't think they were going to see each other for like 3 or 4 months after that. He did it because he thought he'd be able to get away with it. And Odor stood up for himself.
Right.
And that's why Odor
that's fine. And that's perfectly fine with me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna go in like that, even in water polo one time, I had a guy cough in my face, straight up slugged him. Every once in a while, you got to do what you got to do just to make sure everybody else doesn't mess with him.
And one of the great things about Odor is he's our alpha fish. everyone always talks about who do you want to extend? It's real simple. It's Odor. He is our alpha fish. We need to keep him locked up. He provides fear. Like, sure, you can say, oh, he's a dirty ball player. Look at how much pine tar he's got on his helmet. Look at his beard. Look how low he keeps his helmet.
He's wearing underwear.
And the guy, whenever he did the high leg kick to the Royals and then, grabbed his dick right back at Ventura. It was he plays with passion and fire. He's a rare player. The Rangers need to keep him around for a long time.
Well, there's a mental aspect. Baseball is such a mental game, and you have to have somebody on your side. It's very Draymond Greenish, where you hate if you have to face him, but if he's on your side, you're more than happy to have him. And that's what I feel like Odor is. You can't wait to play with that guy.
For sure.
When you're playing against him, you want to punch him in the face.
Almost reminds me of AJ Brzezinski.
Yes. One of the most hated men in all time.
Yeah, so it's interesting, but I think that was a good wrap around a little bit about baseball. So let's chit chat a little bit about some hockey. What do you say?
Oh, I am definitely down to talk some hockey playoffs. As I am sure you are.
Yeah, I think actually our producer even has a few questions about it. What do you say, Mick?
Yes, I do in fact have questions for y'all in regards to the Stanley Cup Playoffs. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go series by series. We're going to give our thoughts and opinions and maybe potential hot takes about each of the teams. And the first matchup, that we're going to start with is in the Eastern Conference, which the Tampa Bay Lightning are playing against the second wild card spot, Columbus Blue Jackets.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and take this one. I'm going to give it an advantage Tampa Bay Lightning. They are absolutely locked, loaded. If you watch any hockey at all, you try and find the holes in Tampa. The holes are in the back of the net on the opposing team that they are ripping through it with their slap shots.
You don't win 60 games in the NHL and be a bad team. They are the best team in the playoffs. They may not win the Stanley Cup because it's such a crapshoot in the NHL, but top to bottom, they play offense, they play defense, they have great goaltending. They have arguably the best player in the league in Steven Stamkos. I don't see, especially in the Eastern Conference, I don't see a team that could beat them. They can lose because it is hockey, but they're so much better than everybody else that I just don't understand how they couldn't make it to the finals.
The skill gap.
I agree.
Yes, the skill gap between the Lightning and everyone else in the Eastern Conference is very noticeable. So I think it's safe to say that you guys are picking Tampa Bay to take this series. None of y'all see an upset coming?
What I will say is, in a hard cap era, I don't understand how you can put that much talent on a roster.
Well, because Tampa's a real hockey town.
Yeah. Everybody goes out and watches them.
But I do understand hockey players who might want to live in Tampa. That does make sense.
Well, even Steven Stamkos said, he's like, it's nice that I can actually walk around the streets here and not be noticed. And he might be the best player in the game.
Yeah, that's absolutely true about that. So, I'm going to give it advantage Lightning, and I just hope, for the sake of all the other teams involved that might have to face the Lightning later on, that the Columbus Blue Jackets just play a really physical game.
Yeah.
Because we all know no matter how good of a team you are, if you go through a really physical series, it shows the next series.
Every other team in the Eastern Conference hopes it at least goes 6.
6, or, a line brawl in game 1, a line brawl in game 2.
Suspended. And,
yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that we're favoring Tampa Bay to take the series, but we're just hoping they get banged up in the process. Is that accurate?
Perfect.
Pretty much. At least make the rest of them a series, because they really are that much better than everybody else.
And
I'm not saying that I want to want to see any NHL player hurt, but I definitely want to see them slow down.
Yeah, because they are so much better than everybody else that it's going to take serious injury to one of their top 7 players for them to slow down. And their top 7 players can hang with basically the rest of the NHL by themselves.
And we will certainly see if the Tampa Bay Lightning hype train does indeed have breaks. Moving on into the Eastern Conference, the next matchup, we have the Atlantic 2 and 3 spots with the Boston Bruins going up against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I mean, this is a heck of a series. This is going to be a series to watch. If you're a fringe hockey fan, watch this series. The Maple Leafs can score, and the Bruins can defend. And we're just going to see what happens.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to have to give my advantage here to Boston because I hate the Maple Leafs. I really do. It just comes down to it. You got actually, surprisingly, I was looking at it online today, there's some surprisingly Canadian fans that are rooting for Boston in this one, because rivalries. And rivalries run deep in Canada among their teams, and they would rather see an American team beat out a known Canadian team because they don't want their rivals to go far at all.
Yeah, well, those are French Canadians, so, But I've got Toronto in this series. I think they just got too much offense. When you have 2 of the top 5 centers in the league, it's going to be tough to beat them in a best-of-7 series.
All right. Well, I just hope Chara can throw down some bodies.
So
I like that. We got a little split here.
Yes, indeed, a split. One of you favoring defense while the other favoring offense. We shall definitely see if the immovable object can withstand the unstoppable force. And we're moving right along here in the Eastern Conference, where we have the Metropolitan Division #1 team, the Washington Capitals, going up against the first wildcard spot in the Carolina Hurricanes.
I'm going to have to give the edge to the Capitals, but it will be a very close series. Because, playoff teams, we talk a lot about playoff teams that come back and they have a hangover. I think that they're going to have a little bit of a hangover, but they are such a veteran team that they will be able to rally up and beat the Carolina Hurricanes.
I agree with you on that. I mean, they did just come off a Stanley Cup victory. Most of that team is still together. But the Hurricanes are young. They're ambitious. They celebrate. And that might get to the old school hockey that the Capitals play.
So who gets the first game? Who do you think gets the first game?
I think the Hurricanes take the first game, but I think the Capitals win the series.
So I'm going to say Capitals first game and Capitals the series.
Fair enough.
I feel like the veterans are going to show up, that they know how to prepare for the first game of the playoffs. There's no slouch to it. They're going to get their first game, but second game, that speed's going to appear from the Hurricane.
Well, if Justin Wilson can keep himself from getting suspended somehow this year, I think he'll be all right.
Wilson! Stop hating everything!
Now, Dealer, you mentioned that you could see this series getting close. Do you think any of the games in this particular series are going to go... Do you think they're going to have to be decided by shootouts?
No, because shootouts aren't a thing in the playoffs. So
they're not?
That's an easy one.
But I bet there will be 2 overtime games in this series.
I could see that. I could definitely see that.
All right. Well, I learned that there's no shootouts during the postseason in hockey, and both of you have given the edge to the Capitals, albeit closely, with 2 overtime games. So we'll see if that indeed happens. And with our final matchup in the Eastern Conference, we have the number 2 spot and the number 3 spot in the Metropolitan Division, with the New York Islanders playing the Pittsburgh Penguins.
This is gotta go Crosby.
You gotta go Crosby. This is probably the toughest series for me because the Islanders lose Tavares and have a better season. And I don't know how that happens. You lose one of the better players in the game, and you become better. But the Penguins have too much talent. They have too much depth. They have too much experience. I do think the Islanders' speed will get to the Penguins, but I also have the Penguins in this series.
So I think that Crosby is going to be back in prime time, and he's going to live it. And we're going to see some really good Crosby highlights. This other day I was watching some of them, and I was like, gosh, this guy is absolutely unreal. And I think that, playoffs trigger phenomenal people to do phenomenal things. And we might see something really great from Crosby coming up here. And it just, that kind of thing, it makes people who play mediocre play better whenever you see that. And I think Crosby's the wild card here. We're going to give it to the Penguins.
Well, plus, when you're dealing with a top 5 player of all time, which Crosby is, you don't want to disappoint him. Even if you're a young guy who just came up, you don't want to disappoint him. And I think that's just what's going to give the Penguins the edge in this case, which would also have a Cavs-Penguins matchup, which would be amazing.
Now, the Islanders do have home ice advantage. Do you feel like that's going to impact the Penguins at all, or do you think it's going to be minimal?
I think it's minimal because I'm not really that crazy about that arena.
Only if it goes 7. Only if it goes 7 for me will that have an impact. Otherwise, I think the Penguins win this in 5, and they move on.
Penguins in 5, dealer. How many games do you think the Penguins will put away the series?
I'm going to go sweep. I'm just going to say this is, no one ever predicts sweeps in the first round, and it's very hard to predict sweeps. But I'm going to give the Penguins the sweep on this one.
So a sweep and a 5-game series. Well, we'll certainly see if the Penguins can pull off an impressive victory. Now, the Western Conference, where we have our very own Dallas Stars going on to play the Nashville Predators. Will this series be a wash?
I do actually have the Stars winning this series, but that's also the homer in me. The Predators are the better team. It was the one team out of the 3 that the Stars could have faced that really had me concerned. I would have rather them see them play the Jets. They're a better matchup with the Jets. But the Stars, they have to get secondary scoring. If they get secondary scoring, they can go a long way. But if they only got 3 guys scoring the puck, and they're trying to rely on Bishop, they're SOL, and it's going to end poorly.
Ooh, yeah, it's tough to say something about the Stars because, I know the old Stars struggle with offense. But with Zook on their team now, it really changed a lot.
I agree with you. It was tough to judge them at the end of the season because they only had Zuccarello for. I know they got him right at the trading deadline, but he got hurt in the first game that he played and missed most of the rest of the season. So it's really hard to see how he's going to fit in. They're going to have to get some scoring from Radek Faksa. They're going to have to get some scoring from their defense with Heiskanen, with Klingberg. They're going to have to get scoring outside of those big 3 guys. Otherwise, there's no way. I do have the Stars winning this series, but a lot of that's probably my homer.
I'm sorry, I actually missed that first part. You said who are the Stars going up against, right?
The Predators.
Oh, Edge Predators. Edge Predators. I'm sorry, Stars. I see the Stars making this very, very close, but Forsberg and Renee, they're going to pull through. I'm going to have to get to the Preds. I absolutely hate the Preds, too. I don't like the yellow. I'm not going to be rooting for the Preds. I'm going to make that very clear. I'm not rooting for the Preds. Gosh, I don't like the Preds. And I really hope the Stars win, but I'm saying Preds are going to win this.
Well, we will certainly see if the Stars, by chance, pull an upset, or if the Preds proceed like we all think they're going to, much to our disdain.
I do think the Stars are going to win this series. I do actually. They just need other guys to score. If they can get other guys to score, they're not going to just win this series. They're going to go very far in the playoffs. But if they're only getting their top three guys, they're screwed.
Yes, the Stars are definitely going to have to rely on other than Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, and Alexander Radulov to get their offense to penetrate the national defense. And we will monitor that series like if it is our own child. In the meantime...
Well, one of the things that I want to bring up real quick before we move on from the Stars is that we saw it during the season was that the Stars were not afraid to set up power lines multiple times throughout the game. And by power lines, I mean stack it with Sagan, Ben, and having, Boxa and Klingberg out there all at the same time. They were not afraid to stack the lineup in the second, in the third, multiple times in the third. They pulled out a little something from Chicago because they were watching Chicago, who was just a dumpster fire of a year this year. But Chicago, they still had big names like Taves and Keith, and and so they were like, wait a second, they're doing it. They're putting Strome and all of them on the same line, and they're winning games. The Hawks are still staying in this because they're power lining it. So, and then the Stars started to do the same thing just a few weeks later, and it paid dividends.
Well, and when your bigger stars in the playoffs start playing more minutes, it is also going to help the Stars. Because,
so we really got to look.
Your top line guys might be playing 22-ish minutes a game. I guarantee you these guys are going to probably be playing 26.
Yeah, I see that, and I also see the goal scoring opportunity to be very high if they stack the lines. Just be looking out for that, but we have to be very careful because whenever those guys start resting, all they have to do is put out their second line from the Preds or first line even. Oh, that's bad news for the Stars.
And the Predators have a better goalie. Even though I love Ben Bishop and Khudobin tandem, I'd still take Pecorino.
Oh, Pecorino, for sure. He actually grew up idolizing Marc-Andre Fleury.
Oh,
and they said like he kind of tried to copy as much of his style play as possible, but put his own little taste on it. So I think that we're going to see one of the best goalie matchups of the playoffs between these two teams.
A goalie matchup it will certainly be between these two Western Conference Titans. And onward to the Central Division, where the Winnipeg Jets will go against the St. Louis Blues.
I tell you what, this is going to be one heck of a series. They're very evenly matched up. They have very similar type talent. I'm excited to watch this series.
Yeah, this is going to be a very even matchup. And so I'm going to say the wild card here is Line. If he shows up and he brings his stick, it's going to go Jets. So I'm just going to say Jets here, partially because I'm from Chicago and you don't like seeing the Blues get very far. So, let's go Winnipeg again. But I agree. It's going to be a very tight matchup. And, I could see this going. I could see this really being a very tight neck and neck all the way throughout.
I mean, I've got the Jets in 7. I think this goes 7 games. 6 just because of, where it is. But I got this in 7. The Jets in 7. They're a good team. They're deep. They're probably deepest team in the Central this year. They can roll 3 lines at you like it's nothing. Their defense is pretty good. Their goaltending's okay, but they're going to score some goals. We'll just see if the Blues can hang with them on that.
Oh, for sure. For sure. They're going to get a lot of goals there. And the Jets, you just got to – I'm going to say this, and it's going to be kind of odd. Even though I'm calling a close matchup, I'm going to say Jets in 5, but the games are close.
I hear what you're saying, like 2-3 overtime games, stuff like that.
For sure.
I hear what you're saying.
And we're not talking blowouts. We're talking oh man, they snuck out a 3-2 win today, and it was last 2 minutes of the game they finally popped one in. So I mean, on paper you're going to be saying, what 5 games, and then you actually watch the games, you just go, oh okay, yeah, I see this was actually a hard puck game. So that's what I'm saying right there.
I absolutely agree with what you're saying, because it'll be 5 1-goal games.
Yeah, that definitely could happen for sure.
And we shall stay tuned to see how this very much heavyweight brawl between 2 stacked teams will play out. Moving on, in the Western Conference, we have the first seed in the Pacific Division playing against the second wild card spot, with the Calgary Flames going up against the Colorado Avalanche.
Oh, all right. So the home ice advantage of the Flames is unreal. If you've watched any of their games this season at home, it's something extremely unique. A lot of real raw Canadian fans, expensive tickets, red all the way up to the ceiling. These people have been knocking down doors all season long. These guys came to win the game.
They have the coolest intro into the game. When they light the ice on fire, I mean, you can't help but get pumped up when they do that.
They light the ice on fire as their intro?
Not actually on fire. They do. It's a CGI thing.
Oh.
But the ice is on fire.
Really cool or hot.
So cool it burns.
Exactly. And my only concern with Calgary is the Avalanche are actually the more talented team. Calgary has been the best team in the West this year. Go ahead.
Shots fired! Woo! Bam, bam, bam!
But am I wrong? I mean, especially offensively, the Avalanche are really good offensively. Their goaltending is trash, and their defense is okay. But their offense is unbelievable. Their top line guys are probably better than the Stars' top line guys.
Sounds to me like you're making a glass cannon sort of argument for the Avalanche. Am I wrong?
I hate the Avalanche with every fiber and being in my body. This goes back to the late 90s, early 2000s, where it was us and them competing on a regular basis. But I love Johnny Gaudreau. He's probably the fastest, talented player in the league. But I don't see them getting past the Avalanche. I don't.
So I have a hard time saying that a 50-win team backed by Tkachuk and his explosive firepower has trouble getting past a 38-win team.
I agree with you on that.
I'm saying Flames, and I'm saying, look, I'm going to say this one of the games, maybe like a game 2 or game 3, is going to be an absolute blowout Flames win.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a hot take, but I'm all, guys, I'm not afraid to go out there on a limb and make an exciting call. Or as most people say, you're not afraid to talk out of your ass. But yeah, I'm going to make an exciting call here.
Well, I guess I'm the one talking out of my ass, thinking the team that barely snuck into the playoffs is going to beat the best team in the league, the one that beat everybody else by like 10 points. But there's just something about the Avalanche. I think they're very underrated. I think they didn't play up to their standards for most of the season. And I think this run to have to get them into the playoffs has really gotten them going. And a hot team right now. They've played pretty well the last couple weeks or so. And I just Calgary might be a little too young for me.
Ooh. All right. Well, hot takes all around us.
How appropriate to have a hot take when talking about the Calgary Flames.
Exactly.
So, we appear to be split on this
How
series.
ISIS.
What about ISIS?
No, hopefully it's not hotter than the ice is.
Oh. That's much preferable to what I said. And so,
Cut that out.
I shall try. No promises. So, the last matchup of the Western Conference is the San Jose Sharks against the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, I believe... I think that tells you everything you need to hear right there, folks.
So you're saying something on that, huh?
Go Knights, go!
In how many games?
I absolutely love the Golden Knights. I mean, they are my team. So it started off more as a meme, because I go to Vegas once a year, and I jokingly said to my friend whenever they opened up against the Stars, I was like, man, if they win this, I'm a Vegas Knights fan for life. I'm buying a jersey. And then they won, and I was like, oh, I got to put my money where my mouth is now. So I buy a jersey. I'm like, I don't even know who to buy because I think at the time Fleury was injured or something. Or, and like right around the time I'm buying the jersey for an injured goalie who the Pittsburgh Penguins gave up on. And I'm like, oh, gosh, I really did myself in on this one here. This team is not looking good. And, I was proven wrong. I had so much fun. Vegas really got behind their team. I went there. I had a blast. I mean, so to sit in the upper deck, right? So if you can kind of think, a lot of our viewers here from Dallas-Fort Worth region, so if you can think about the highest seat you could possibly get and the price for that, for a regular season game against a Tuesday night against the Avalanche, to sit in the highest seat possible, the very top, a Golden Knights ticket, home game was $200. That's how much these people love their Golden Knights. And they had a sellout rate of 104% all season long. That means they're selling standing room only tickets every single game. Right. So, I mean, to say that I'm on the Vegas hype, yeah, you could say it, and a lot of other people are too. So I'm really excited about Vegas. I hope they go far again. I think that a lot of people who are hurt hockey fans, such as like the Panthers and stuff, teams that, the Senators, they were rooting for the Vegas Knights to go far and win it. And I think that, it's something nice because it's got a player from everybody's team kind of mantra behind it. They're starting to get their own feel for it. If we have healthy Fleury, we have an easy Golden Knights victory because backed up by Mark Stone, Carlson, Tuck, and Vegas natives, so it's in the defense right there. So I mean, it's advantage Vegas, but it all depends on their goalie because we know Subban is trash. So you have to give it Vegas healthy Fleury.
I shall ask again, Zuby. How many games do you think the Knights will pull one out?
Knights in 6.
Knights in 6.
So for me, this is probably the hardest series for me to call. The Sharks have Brett Burns. I know they're old. They're old. I mean, they're still rolling Joe Thornton out on Joe Thornton out on the first line, but they have the experience. They did go to the finals just a couple years ago. I know Vegas was there last year, so both teams have experience. This is probably going to be the best series to watch. I do think Vegas takes it in 7. I think it will go full 7. But it's going to be a heck of a matchup. It's going to be great TV. You got to watch it. You're just going to have to watch this series because it's going to be fantastic.
For my gray hair and my drinking problem, I really hope it doesn't go 7, but I'd like to say Vegas wins.
So we have a
Well, as long as my Stars make the finals, we're good.
So we have a Vegas in 6 and a Vegas in 7. So we sound pretty confident that Vegas is going to take the series, and we shall make sure to keep an eye out. Now, I actually have some live updates for you guys. There are 2 games going on right now. The Tampa Bay-Columbus game and the New York and Pittsburgh game. Which do y'all want to hear about first?
Let's go Pittsburgh.
So as of right now, I'm looking at ESPN. It says 1927 in the first period. The Islanders are up by 1.
Okay.
And, I'm looking at the Tampa Bay-Columbus game. It's also still in the first period with 2 minutes and 10 seconds left. What do y'all think the score is?
2-0 Tampa.
I'm going to say 1-0 Tampa.
It's 3-0 Tampa.
Ooh.
And so we'll have to... Yeah, Tampa Bay is on an absolute tear. And so, we've gone...
Well, let's just hope South Carolina can just start body slamming at this rate to help out the rest of the teams.
Take one for the league, we say. Now, we have gone over the series. Out of all of these teams, who do y'all think is going to represent the Western and Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup Finals? We're going to go to Dealer first.
Well, I'm going to say, out of the West, the Vegas Golden Knights. Woo! Completely biased, but also kind of smart. They got the team for it. So, it's like they did it last year. So, they could definitely do it again this year, especially now that they got Mark Stone. And out of the East, the Lightning. The Lightning. Yep. And I know that spells death for my Vegas Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup. But, that's going to be it for me. I'm going to say the Knights and the Lightning.
Dealer is officially predicting a Knights Lightning Stanley Cup Finals appearance. What a series that would be. A true battle of juggernauts. Now, on the other end, we have Coolhand. Who do you think will appear in the Stanley Cup Finals?
Well, I definitely agree it's going to be the Lightning. They really are the best team in this tournament. If they don't win it all, it's really a travesty against hockey because they really are the best team by far.
Boo!
I know, I agree, but I'm booing myself. But if they don't make it out of the East, it'd be a shock. But out of the West, I actually have the Jets.
The Jets, you say?
What?
I think top to bottom, they're good. I think they're the deepest team in the West right now. I know their goaltending is that great, but if he gets hot, I think Jets make the finals. I would love to see my Stars in there. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see Tyler Seguin win one for us, but there's something about the Jets. I think they have a good matchup with the Blues, and then we'll see how it goes from there. And I don't want to be right, but I think they will win the West.
So I see what you mean with the Stars. I'm not afraid to throw my support behind them. And I love the Dallas Stars. It's your hometown, it's your green, whatever. We're not going to talk about their motto, which is like the worst freaking motto that you could ever create. Be loud. It's like something about be loud. I'm like,
stupid as shit.
Your motto should not tell fans how to be fans.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really bad. You have to tell your fans to be loud. Please don't put that there. That's embarrassing because everyone who's gone to a Stars game knows most of the games are really, until they're told to be loud, they're really quiet at most Stars games. So that's really embarrassing. So I'm going to have to say here.
They're still learning how to be fans. But,
yeah.
But
they just walked over from the golf course, Give them a little break, okay?
But I think the Jets are a good matchup with basically everybody in the conference, and I wish it wasn't true. God, I want my Stars to make it. Like, it'd be such a happy day for me for the Stars to make it all the way. But I've got Jets and everybody else right now.
Let me ask you this way: would you rather your team lose in 7 games in the conference final, or get swept in the Stanley Cup?
Okay, so I'd rather get swept in the Stanley Cup.
Really?
I'd rather get swept in the Stanley Cup. At least they made it. You know, this is coming off my Red Raiders. This is coming off my Red Raiders losing a national championship in overtime.
To be fair, that was overtime, so that's not getting swept. Because if you saw
But they made it there.
If it was 80-30, you would have turned off the TV and said, "Ah!"
No, not my Red Raiders. Not my Red Raiders. But
ooh,
because I am still proud of them for making it that far.
And we will have much more to say about the NCAA men's tournament in part 2 of our episode. But in terms of hockey, Dealer is right. I do have a hot take here. From the East, I do think Tampa Bay is going to make it to the finals, but in the West, I'm going Calgary.
Oh!
Good pick, solid.
Literally hot, huh?
Look. Everything both of you had said about Winnipeg and Vegas, I honestly think applies to Calgary as well, and just a little bit more. So, do I think they're going to get to the Stanley Cups in like 5 and 6 game series? Nah. Whoever they play in the Western Conference Finals is going to be a 7 game series. I'm not sure if that's going to be Vegas or Winnipeg, but it's going to be a slog. So, we will definitely see.
I mean, the Saddle Dome is a tough place to play, and when you're basically playing all home games until the finals, it's going to be huge.
100%.
Yeah, I agree. It's something that you're going to have to really compete with there. You know, you're going into a stadium with Canadian fans who know hockey, who know their team, who know the opposing team probably. I mean, it's just like any other super fan sport. You're going up against where there's a lot of super fans, so they're going to be aware of the talent. You know, they're going to be aware of the opponents. They're going to be aware of what's happening. You're going to be going up against a smart fan base in a absolutely filled arena with high energy. Flames, solid pick. Absolutely solid pick. Good job.
So it sounds we're all in agreement that Tampa Bay will win the East, but in the West we have a variety of opinions, which is going to be interesting to see how all this plays out during the Stanley Cup Playoffs. And with that being said, we would like to thank y'all for tuning in for part 1 of our Backyard Bullshit mega show, where we discussed baseball and hockey. And we will be back in the next episode where we discuss the many goings-ons in the world of the NFL, as well as the, what a waterfall of news to talk about in regards to the NBA. And we're not talking about just the playoffs. And with that being said, my name is Mickey. Thank y'all for tuning in.
I'm Coolhand. We appreciate it.
And I'm Dealer, and I'm cashing out. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all, and we'll see y'all in part 2.